see that?
You ever seen him before?
Well, maybe he looked at you weird because you almost ran him over with your fucking van. Just a thought, I don't know. So then Kevin says, when they come back, I'll be ready.
When those guys come back, I'll be ready.
How did he know that the shadows that he saw earlier are these two people in particular? He probably recognized this douche's afro. Give that shit a trim, dude. So to make the burglars believe that everybody's still home, Kevin sets up a bunch of mannequins near the windows, and he cleverly puts a billboard cutout on a train so it looks like it's walking around. And he sets up the mannequins on strings that he pulls so it looks like they're moving from outside. And he puts on really loud music so it looks like there's a party going on. So what, is he just gonna be doing this all night? Like, when did he start doing this? Because these burglars can show up at any time, from when the sun goes down to when the sun goes up. So I mean, unless he's pulling those strings for like 6 hours straight, he got pretty lucky because he just happened to be doing it when the burglars arrived. It's a pretty clever and fun scene regardless, just not very realistic. I love this scene. Kevin orders pizza, but he's anxious because he's young. So in order to pay for it, he uses the gangster film that he saw earlier. He pauses it and starts it up to respond to the pizza guy. It's really clever.
How much do I owe you?
That'll be $11.80, sir.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Cheapskate.
It definitely wouldn't work in real life, you know? The audio probably wouldn't be loud enough, and it wouldn't be clear enough, and it'd probably be very obvious that it was coming from a television. Then this happens.
I'm gonna give you to the count of 10 to get your ugly, yellow, no good keister off my property before I pump your guts full of lead. 1, 2, 10.
Kevin's an evil little bastard. He wants the pizza guy to be frightened for his life. And if the pizza guy legitimately believed that he was being shot at by this person, you would think he would call the cops on him. I love the scenes of him using his parents' bathroom and acting like a grown-up. You know, he's using aftershave when he clearly doesn't need it. This scene is great because I feel like it's something that a lot of kids can relate to. That eagerness to grow up and feel like an adult. So then there's this scene of Kevin going shopping. There's obviously people in this grocery store, but nobody stops him. He's just walking around, this 8-year-old child. You would think that at least someone would be like, where are your parents? Do you need some help? What's going on? Even the cashier, after some light questioning, just lets him pay for his stuff and leave. So then there's a scene of Kevin facing his fears. He goes back down into the cellar and he tells the furnace to shut up. If you're observant, you'll notice that many of the shots that focus on Kevin in the beginning of the movie are filmed above his head, making him seem small and helpless. At the end of the film, Kevin is mostly shot from below, making him seem taller and more confident. It's little things like that in filmmaking that I really appreciate. It kind of reminds me of this film from 2017 called The Florida Project. The entire film is shot from the kid's perspective, so it's really low. And even when the adults are around, the camera is aimed upwards at them instead of, you know, at their level. So then Kevin repeats the whole gangster flick thing to scare off Marv. When Harry and Marv are walking away, in the middle of the yard, Harry pretty much yells his plans to revisit the house at 9 p.m. It almost comes across as bait, you know, like he's trying to make them think he'll come at 9 p.m., but he's actually gonna come at a different time. But no, those are actually the plans.
We'll unload the van, we'll get a bite to eat, and we'll come back about 9 o'clock. We'll come back about 9 o'clock.
I know Kevin's hanging out the window and that's how he heard it, but come on, you gotta be a little bit more incognito than that, bro. It seems like this isn't your first rodeo, you know? You do these burglaries pretty often. You think you'd keep your plans on the down low. And if Kevin was able to call the pizza guy, you'd assume that he would call the cops as soon as he learned that the burglars were gonna come at 9 p.m. instead of spending all this time trying to kill them. Maybe this kid's like a little psychopath. He's like a little Dexter. That's why all those rumors are floating around about this kid being the guy from the Saw movies. But then again, he's afraid of the police because he accidentally stole a toothbrush earlier, so maybe that's why he didn't call them. But later on in the film, he calls the police. So, what? Then there's one of the cutest scenes in the movie. Kevin goes to this outdoor Santa house because he wants to talk to Santa, but not the fake Santa because he knows that that's just a guy in a Santa costume. He wants that Santa to send a message to the real Santa because he knows that they work together.
I know you're not the real Santa Claus.
What makes you say that? Just out of curiosity.
I'm old enough to know how it works.
All right.
But I also know that you work for him.
He asks that Santa to ask the real Santa to exchange all of his gifts for his family members, and he's 100% genuine about it. This scene is so exemplary of children's innocence.
Okay, this is extremely important. Would you please tell him that instead of presents this year, I just want my family back?
I mean, it is kind of weird that he's just walking around at night alone. Like, you think that this Santa or the elf would be like, why is this 8-year-old just walking around by himself at night? But no, they're like, all right, well, whatever. You'd feel like the Christmas spirit would make them question this a little bit more, you know? Especially if he's asking for his family. I know that this Santa is clearly not in a great spot because, I mean, just look at his car. Lend a helping hand to an 8-year-old that's wandering around at nighttime alone. Is that so much to ask? So right when Santa's about to leave, his car just stalls out. And it looks like that was planned, right? Like his car is a piece of junk, so obviously it's not gonna start right away. But the car actually did stall on camera, and they decide just to keep that take because it worked so perfectly. So then Kevin goes to a church to start praying for his family back, and then he notices his old neighbor. His old neighbor gets up and walks over to him and asks him if he can sit next to him. Kevin's kind of wary at first, but then he says it's okay, whatever. I know nowadays, like, the combination of church, old man, and young boy, you know, you kind of want to avoid that as much as possible. But back then, that stigma didn't exist. It was just a cute scene. And it still is just a cute scene. The old man is very friendly and he confides in Kevin. And he starts telling him about his own son and how he regrets the fact that he told him so long ago that he never wanted to speak to him again. And the childish nature of Kevin responds to that in a way a child would. Well, why don't you just call him? And I really like this scene because it shows that no matter how old you are, sometimes you can find the best advice in the most unlikely of places and people. So this is where the fun starts, right? So Marv and Harry approach the house. So the two burglars are by the door trying to bait him to open up, but instead Kevin sticks the BB gun through the doggy door and shoots Harry in the balls.
Be a good little fella now and open the door.
So then Marv, being the genius that he is, sticks his head in the doggy door. And Kevin shoots him in the face. So then these guys are pissed, right? They want to get revenge on this kid. So Marv tries to infiltrate through the basement, and Harry tries to infiltrate through the front door. They both slip because a while ago, Kevin poured water all over the stairs. But then Harry just keeps trying to walk up the same flight of stairs when he can obviously just walk around the stairs. And why aren't either of the burglars wearing masks if they know this kid is there? That's kind of stupid, right? Especially when you know that this kid saw you earlier. You know that this kid is going to be able to identify you to people unless you plan on killing him, which is weird because earlier in the movie it showed that at least Harry had some morals, because when they were done robbing the other place, Marv clogged the sink and ran the water so it would overflow and, you know, damage their house. And Harry didn't like that very much. He was like, oh, why would you do that? That's a dick move, dude.
You left the water running, didn't you?